The Jewish nursing home on Washington Street was a typical three-family house. There was a rabbi, and he was the leader of a congregation in Lynn, and he took it upon himself to run this nursing home.
I took my mother-in-law to visit her friend, and it was an appalling scene for me to behold, to see people reduced to a bed, to a nightstand. It had a profound effect on me.
It was the old-type nursing home where they had some volunteers, some paid help, but the care was at best inadequate.
And saw the people unhappily living there, feeling that no one wanted them, and that's all that was left for them.
That was something that had to be corrected. Well, the JRC was conceived not by people of my age. It was conceived by many of our fathers or other relatives who saw the same things we saw and knew it was inadequate. One particular man, his name was Mr. Stahl. He was the head of the group of merchants and manufacturers who took care of the rabbi in the nursing home, and Mr. Stahl invited some of his friends, and they laid out a plan that they wanted to build a new nursing home. Well, there was a sense of urgency because people had no place to go. There were no nursing homes except the three-family house. Mr. Stahl said, "You find a place to put it, and we'll supply enough money to buy the land and get it started." And that was given to Mr. Stahl's two sons, who went out in the community and got other young men such as themselves to get this thing going. And there were a whole slew of us. Each called a friend or two friends, and all became working members of seeing that this home was built. We had only decided to build a one-floor home because that's all the money we had. After the home was built, and I didn't have to be there all the time to watch the mechanics, I started to notice what a marvelous job they were performing. And they filled a niche of taking care of the old people in a manner that they could live in peace and quiet the rest of their lives.
I came from Stamford, Connecticut. My husband bought a plant here for London Fog to make leather coats for. I moved in on June 2nd, 1972. And my neighbors across the street brought me a delicious cake and a cheese knife. And this lovely lady was Estelle Cohen.
Back then, when women were home raising the children, they had spare time, and they were willing to give to the organizations, to their synagogues, the temples, Jewish Community Center, and for me was the JRC.
She had just moved in to this area, so we were new kids on the block.
It was not long after that the first floor was put up in the JRC, and I received a call asking if I would become the financial secretary. I agreed to do it based on the fact that I had seen this other home and saw the progress that was being made.
And we had a ladies' auxiliary. The ladies' auxiliary was there to help fundraising and to visit all the people who were there. I did the programming for the meetings, and we used to have tremendous meetings. Everybody was interested in joining.
They tried to raise money for amenities, for excursions, for things that were needed that the general fund couldn't afford.
At its peak, we had about 350 people that were on the roster.
In later years, I smiled when I saw people hired, and that was their job. They were paid to raise money. All this was done voluntarily by the women of the community. And we worked a lot of hours to do that.
There was a wonderful feeling that this was the place to help.
As soon as the new home opened, the waiting list grew until it was said there was a 2-year waiting period. We had one floor and didn't have sufficient money to put a second floor up. And that was the scene when a miracle happened in our lives. My husband, Victor, was a CPA and an attorney, and he specialized in tax law. My husband had a client, a very wealthy man who had no children. He had passed away, and I left Victor and another woman as co-trustees to spend this money at their discretion for charity, to be done in their names. It was an absolute miracle in our lives. When he came home and told me, we didn't sleep the entire night. We kept thinking of all these wonderful places that we could help, because at that time it was about a $2 million estate, which was a lot of money. The first thing I said was, we need a second floor at the JRC.
So Victor came to the home. He wasn't even an officer then, but his mother and his mother-in-law were both in the nursing home. So he came to a meeting one night and he said, I can get this money, and it gave us $1 million that we were able to put on the second floor. Then Victor decided he liked it so much there, he became an officer, became president.
The devotion that Victor had, the caring, the concern, was very much a part of our lives. We felt very blessed. I can only put it in those words, that 2 poor youngsters had an opportunity to do that much good.
In the early 80s, a group of the JRC board members really were forward-thinking about realizing that not everyone needed to be in a residential setting, and many people would prefer to age in their own home. And they came up with the concept of the Adult Day Health Center. When the day center opened in 1982, it was called the Shapiro Rudolph Adult Day Center, named in honor of Sam Shapiro and Lou Rudolph, who were really instrumental in bringing the concept to fruition. The day center was built as an addition to the original JRC structure. It was completely attached, so people could move freely back and forth, and the day center clients could use many of the amenities of the JRC. And it was just an exciting time to see the day center develop.
In the early 90s, we were looking what would our next steps be. The board took a look at needs in the area, and we decided that there was a need for assisted living in our community.
I became president of the JRC in '92 through '94, and during that time we actually realized that Swampscott was too small, so we decided to look for a location somewhere nearby in the North Shore where we could build an assisted living facility. We found the Peabody site, and we were delighted because not only was it so close to Swampscott, but also it had a tremendous potential for development.
I was asked by the board to serve as chair with Lou to build Woodbridge. And by doing that, basically we reported to the board with the bank, the financing, and we built the first new assisted living here on the North Shore.
Back in the early 90s, the assisted living was not common, as it is today. And I think we broke ground in 1994 and opened it in April of 1996.
There is nothing like this here on the North Shore, but we knew that years ago, that if we were going to do it, that it had to be the best.
We wanted something that gave you a residential feel, not a institutional feel. And so when people would approach, they'd see something that could be their home. And I honestly believe when people come to assisted living, they live longer because they're having a better time.
Aviv Centers for Living is just an extension of its history. None of that mission that drove the inception of that first home have changed 65 years later. The only thing that has changed is the environment, and the environment must change. The environments have to change with time. They have to be updated. People's desires, people's needs change with generations. And what we've done is we've just offered this new environment to meet the needs of the current generation.
Our skilled nursing facility, the JRC, was in Swampscott for 40 years, and it really was getting tired. The board determined that in order to fulfill our mission, we had to make a change. Thus, the Wolfvogel Health Center was born, and we set out to create something very special there, a new facility to take us to the future.
The Wolfvogel Health Center was designed specifically with our residents in mind. It was designed to change the culture of what was known to be skilled nursing and rehabilitation for decades. It is a household model design, which means that we chose clusters of people that had similar interests, similar personalities, and we chose to put them in these nice, small households, homes, of 16 people with their own kitchen, living room, TVs, private rooms, so they could really enjoy privacy and dignity and get back to a feeling that they belong.
A building project like building the Wolfvogel Health Center, is a very exciting project. It's something that you can really look to and say, I was part of that. I contributed to that.
September 9th, 2012, we opened the doors officially to the Wolfvogel Health Center. We had a seamless and incredibly momentous move.
My wife and I were here on move-in day, and that was one of the top days in my life, to see the residents and their families and the joy, and it was all the hard work, very, very worthwhile.
It's wonderful because there's only 16 of us, and these are the 16 people that sleep or that are in rooms. I love my privacy, and I get it here. It's very nice here. And they always knock at the door before they come in. Yeah.
We really spent a lot of time trying to design this building to enhance the quality of life of our residents and their loved ones. We've done so by adding terrific outdoor space around the building, front porches where people can sit and kind of watch who's coming in and out of the building. A wonderful courtyard that is divided both for our residents and the children. The children are part of the North Suburban Jewish Community Center day program, which is housed here at Aviv.
I go see them every day, and I sit and watch the kids. Now they come to the gate and they wave, they know me. So it's something I enjoy doing.
Our residents love dealing with the children. There's programming in which they get to share time with the children, doing artwork and other types of program that are specifically designed to bring the generations together.
To walk around and see the execution of the original strategy, the intergenerational daycare, the continuum of care that's on this one campus, it's very rewarding.
It's an exciting time. And, it feels good to get to this point. It's a good opportunity for us to both reflect on our past and to now use that as a strong foundation to move forward.
Knowing some of the past chairs and presidents from the community, I have tremendous respect for those individuals. And when I was invited to be part of the board, I jumped in and it became a passion of mine.
When Ruth and I first got involved, the kids were babies. I don't even know if you were born yet.
No, I don't think so.
And, they would participate with us because we had meetings quite, many evenings, so no babysitters. They just came with us. But back then, when we were involved in building the JRC, that was state of the art back then. It was quite a facility. And to see this today is just, the next generation. It really is amazing, and it's very fulfilling.
For the lack of words, I call it the Field of Dreams, because this is part of a vision of many people.
It's not just about the 16, and now I'm number 17, men and women who've been the chair or the president. It's about their boards. It's about who they've gotten involved. It's about the donors for the last 40 plus years that got us here.
I am very excited about the future, watching this beautiful edifice come into play. Happy that our community will have the state-of-the-art place for people to go.
I think the thing that makes Aviv the most special is every employee there. I can tell you from experience with Mom being there, the kitchen staff, the dining room staff, the cleaning staff, the nursing staff, the social work staff, the hairdresser. There isn't one department that doesn't reach out to make a personal touch with every resident.
Our Jewish roots will guide us in always making the right decision for our residents and for our future, so that there will always be an Aviv Centers for the Living that will have that as their core mission.
Lou Stahl, Lou Rudolph, Sam Shapiro, they were all mentors to me and the new group of leadership that they brought in. And as I look at Aviv, I have to smile and say I'm delighted that they have the same values, they share the same ideas that were instilled in me and my contemporaries many years ago when we first got involved in the JRC.
It was a mitzvah to be involved and be an active part of it, because here was something you could touch, you could feel.
The fact is that our world is getting older, people are living longer, they need some sort of place to be when they can't be at home anymore.
We have proudly serviced the community of the North Shore of Boston for 65 years, and we will continue to service this community with pride for the unforeseeable future.